Friend of mine and friend of the show, Adam Mockler, made his triumphant return to CNN, where he humiliated a bunch of MAGA Republican commentators in a heated debate about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to take a look at here, starting with this one.
So I don't think Democrats are in a position where they are interested in negotiating based on everything that's being reported and that we're hearing from them.
Democrats are absolutely about to negotiate. There's reporting today that they're ready because they have leverage. First of all, I just want to say, the idea that the Republican Party is the party of small government, as you claimed, is a joke under this administration. Donald Trump is taking stakes, active stakes in multiple companies. Donald Trump is expanding his executive power, trying to trample all over Congress, trying to appoint people in key positions so that they can take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. But I do want to say...
So what do you want? What do you want big government here in New York? Why is that something that we should advocate for?
You don't know
the government open.
You don't know my position on New York.
I want the government. The Republicans have voted 14 times to open the government.
Let me just finish. Republicans have voted 14 times to strip health care away from millions of Americans. It is incredibly, incredibly obvious who has the moral high ground in this government shutdown, and it's the Democratic Party.
Let's stop right there for just a second. Again, I love that he's speaking in very blunt terms with very blunt fact checks, not insinuating that Democrats have the moral high ground, telling it to MAGA Republicans' face like, hey, your party is actually, you guys don't have the moral high ground here. We do, and here's why. I think it's interesting that in response to the litany of examples that Adam provided of government overreach, or what we might call Marxism or socialism or a central command economy coming from the Trump administration on a national level, the best this New York Post contributor can do is go, well, what about New York? Okay, so even if I grant you, let's just grant parity here. Let's say, you know what? Zoran Mamdani wants to do the same damn things that Donald Trump wants to do. A couple of things. Well, number one, Zoran Mamdani isn't claiming to be the party of small government. So again, he has the moral high ground and moral superiority because he's not lying. Number two, he's talking about New York City, not the entire nation with 50 states and 340 million people. But that's not the case, to say nothing of the fact that what Zoran Mamdani wants to do is significantly less socialism in terms of providing, like 5 government-funded bodegas compared to Donald Trump seizing stakes of companies, American companies. Sorry, you don't have the moral high ground here. Even on this, Donald Trump is just objectively more socialist and Marxist than Zoran Mamdani.
They are just trying to prevent millions of Americans from being kicked off of health care.
Who put the sunset provision for ACA subsidies?
Republicans negotiated.
That was Democrats.
Republicans negotiated that.
Who put the sunset provision for ACA?
Do you understand how negotiation works in Congress? Two sides have to come together. The Republican Party.
This would be the first time that we wouldn't have a clean CR passed. This is the bill that Schumer and everyone else agreed to back.
The Republican Party was the party that came in.
Why aren't they committing to it this year?
Listen, the Republican Party.
Why can't they commit to it this year?
The Republican Party was the party that didn't want permanent credits. Number one. Number two, the reason why Democrats are number one, just holding off is because millions of Americans are about to get kicked off healthcare. It's incredibly simple.
It is. And again, she's interrupting and heckling to try to throw him off his game. And again, it didn't really work. The fact of the matter is these sunset provisions were provided not because Democrats wanted them, but because conservatives wanted them. Okay. And the fact of the matter is that Democrats shouldn't accept simply a handshake. Oh, listen, you fund the government. Help us fund the government. We promise that we'll do something about this. No, bullshit. You guys are pathologically dishonest, led by a peerlessly, unprecedentedly dishonest figure. Like, no, we need it in writing, in blood, basically in the legislation. Otherwise, we don't trust you, nor should they.
Can I just ask, to either of the Republicans on this panel, would you rather see this government shutdown end in Trump's preferred way, which is terminating the filibuster, or Democrats' preferred way, which is extending health care? What do you say?
First of all, I'm not a Republican.
Sorry. Then what do you say?
Then
what do you say? I want to see what do you say?
I ran for city council as a Democrat in the city of New York.
Okay.
Lost by 100 votes.
Then I want to ask you, what do you say about that?
I'm a New Yorker.
Okay, answer my question. Answer my question then.
These labels, you know why we are where we are?
Answer my question.
What you just did. I'm going to answer your question. But this is why we are where we are. Because we've become so partisan. We've forgotten about the people who don't put gas in their car. We've forgotten about the people who can't feed their kids. We're more worried about here's why the Democrats are not motivated to settle this. Because history will say, under Donald Trump, it was the longest government shutdown. So it'll be it'll be now.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
So for the Democrats, it's going to be down on his scorecard. I wish Congress would go home, go to their home districts, and see the people suffering.
You want to know who
and then come back to Washington and then make their decisions.
Somebody is, and it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's taking the sides of the Democrats actively. She has talked to her constituents, and she said their health care premiums are about to skyrocket. So, again, one party clearly has the moral high ground. Let me ask the same question. How should the shutdown end? The way that Trump wants it
It
to
should
end?
end that it always. There's one way it typically has always ended.
Negotiation.
Under Biden.
Thank you. That's what I'm
under
saying.
Biden,
Negotiation.
It always ends with a clean
With
CR.
negotiation.
No. I reject your.
No, it did end with negotiation. President Biden negotiated with the Republicans for the debt ceiling crises and government shutdown. So again, Adam is right in this respect. Adam's just right that this is the reason that President Biden was able to avoid a government shutdown is because even though it frustrated people like me, he was willing to negotiate and give the Republicans something. Now, I didn't think they were entitled to anything. I thought that they had an obligation to keep the government funded. But if this is going to be the standard, then the Republicans have to own it when it's inconvenient for them, not just when it's convenient. Here's another clip.
I didn't think I was going to get the reaction. And the reason why he brought him on was Fuentes, on his own, attacked Tucker Carlson's father, wife, and child. And Tucker was enraged, and the way he targeted his anger was to have him on his podcast.
Wait, so he was so enraged, he decided to have a friendly interview with Nick Fuentes. The problem is not that he held the interview, it's that he normalized this type of ideology. I think the Republican Party is for the first time being forced to face the monster that they've created in Nick Fuentes. Throughout my entire youth, I've watched Donald Trump normalize, not Nick Fuentes' rhetoric, but a type of extremist rhetoric that the U.S. has never seen before.
It's very true. Donald Trump is directly responsible for the rise of people like Nick Fuentes and the normalization of Nick Fuentes. Donald Trump had dinner with Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes, spoke at Trump, spoke in Trump's favor and mobilized people to show up on January 6th. So they were inextricably linked for the longest time, and Trump bears culpability for that. And given that he's the leader of the Republican Party, I would argue that Republican leaders writ large also have culpability there. Here's another clip.
Republicans do
about
not.
Jewish people with Donald Trump.
That's how I'm saying.
He wore a yarmulke at his daughter's wedding.
The way that Donald Trump speaks about the Democratic Party, the way that Donald Trump speaks about people who disagree with him, has normalized this extremist rhetoric. He said that we were gnats who need to be taken care of in front of the military. But the point is, a lot of young people are being sucked into this Nick Fuentes pipeline. I don't think the Republican Party, the old guard, is ready for what's about to smack them in the face with this new guard.
Well, again, and if you actually watch, so Ben Shapiro, for example, posted dedicated a long episode of his Ben Shapiro show on Twitter and on YouTube to a refutation of the unholy alliance between Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, the fringier elements of the Republican Party. And as people pointed out, if you actually look in the comments section, Shapiro got a lot of backlash because you could easily make the argument that Tucker and Fuentes represent the heart and soul of the Republican Party much more than Ben Shapiro. And the other thing to point out is like Mitch McConnell before him, Ben Shapiro, who tried to present himself as more of a neocon, right? He actively aided and abetted the rise to power of the likes of Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, just as Mitch McConnell did with Donald Trump. They thought that they could weaponize it, form an unholy alliance, and then they allowed them to run roughshod and take over the party. And only now are the McConnells and Shapiros going, holy shit. The fact of the matter is that they will both bend principle for the sake of political expediency, and they prove it with their support of Trump. So we'll see what happens in terms of the Shapiro neocon versus Fuentes, more radical and anti-Semitic elements of the right. We'll see how that bears out. Here's another clip.
And my worry is J.D. Vance needs to come out and condemn this. J.D. Vance, when the Young Republican group chat leaked of people who were Nazi supporters, muddied the waters. Do you not see the normalization that's happening?
Yes, J.D. Vance did indeed say that. He was like, there's just a couple of kids blowing off steam. I'm not going to wag my finger at them. We're not going to cancel people forever because they were making jokes. These weren't teenagers. These were people in their 20s and 30s who actually held official positions of power within the Republican Party. But again, that's J.D. Vance just totally bending principle for the sake of political expediency. So why would we expect anything else from any other prominent Republican? Not good.
Reveal here.
The fundamental fact is that things are getting worse for Americans. Over the past 9.5 months or so, Donald Trump has continually claimed that we are in a golden age of America, that we brought in $18 trillion via tariffs, but most of the macroeconomic indicators are not looking too good. For example, you can look at unemployment, it's up, inflation is up since Liberation Day back in March/April. Americans are struggling, you can just talk to anybody about it. And the problem is, Trump is now just throwing out the word affordability like that's gonna fix anything. Last night he was on Fox News, and Fox, read him a post from one of his supporters, a 3-time Trump voter. And the 3-time Trump voter was like, listen, we're struggling here. Main Street does not reflect Wall Street's, and it's bad. And Trump's answer was, no, prices are down, except for beef. He essentially is gaslighting and saying prices are down. He then says, energy prices are down, maybe she should check her. And it's like, no, you were legit gaslighting.
Gas prices are down, I believe.
Yeah.
But electricity prices are up.
Guys.
Gas prices spiked under Trump. He's saying, as he's been saying for months, gas is down to $2 a gallon. It's horseshit. It's his go-to stock line. He's been saying it for all 9 months of his administration. He's just full of shit. And again, whether he's right or wrong, and he is wrong, right? But President Biden is the cautionary tale here. President Biden tried to persuade Americans that, hey, look at the GDP numbers, look at the unemployment numbers. I even said those things. Like, look, guys, the way we typically evaluate the health of a national economy, the Biden economy is pretty damn good. And the American people said, it doesn't matter. I'm paying more at the grocery store. I feel like I'm paying more at the grocery store. It doesn't matter if you tell me otherwise. It doesn't matter if you say I am paying more at the grocery store, but it's because of post-COVID pandemic, supply shock-induced inflation, all these things. It doesn't matter. The point is, I have to live my life. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm paying more at the grocery store, and you're in charge. It must be your fault. I'm going to hold you accountable, and don't tell me about all these other things. Trump is making the same mistake here. I would argue he's doing even worse, though, because unlike Biden, he can't point to wildly successful macroeconomic metrics. I mean, Trump's just lying, and the American people aren't buying it. Here's another clip.
I mean, the stock market's high now, and I mean, I guess that's if it's come down, it's going to go even higher. So that's not a horrible situation to be in.
You know, Trump will still claim it as a massive win, even if the stock market did spike. But I do want to say, it's not impressive that the stock market is at all-time highs. It's almost always hitting all-time highs. It's more impressive that Donald Trump was able to tank the stock market multiple times via his tariffs. That's the more impressive part. The growth over the past 9 months is slower than Biden's last 9 months in office.
Trump's been in 9 months, so we got
to
okay, but even the affordability thing. I mean, it takes a little while. These tariffs, it takes a while.
90 deals in 90 days. That happened, right?
Okay.
This is true, but the issue is that economists at the time when Biden was in office were saying this economy is booming. And you look back at some of the job numbers, they were quite large.
I agree. You can't
disagree.
So
it was on its way up. And so there's a lot of consternation about the tariffs because that kept sort of making...
And the very same people on this panel defending Trump were saying under Biden's economy that Biden's economy ain't shit. Now they're trying to, well, actually, okay, the things that we said don't matter under Biden, they do matter under Trump. So, but again, even the macroeconomic metrics under Trump are not as good as they were under Biden. So it's really funny. And I appreciate the fact that Mockler points out that the stock market is constantly performing all-time high. There were all-time highs at the time under President Obama, then all-time highs under Trump term 1, then all-time highs under President Biden, and that, yes, now all-time highs under Donald Trump. Like, the general trajectory is to go upwards, even though you see peaks and valleys. But by that logic, Adam could have turned to these people and say, okay, well, if all-time highs indicates the strength of the economy, then you would concede, wouldn't you, Trump supporters here on this panel, that given that the stock market had all-time highs under Biden and Biden came after Trump, ergo the all-time highs under Biden were higher than the all-time highs under Trump term 1, you agree that Biden's economy was objectively better than Trump term 1's, right? Because that's the inescapable conclusion, unless, of course, you're a hypocrite and a liar. And then they'd be like, oh, well, no, all-time highs under Democrats are different, right? And it's like, no. Adam, of course, does extremely well here. Obviously, the people he's up against are not as iconically smug as Scott Jennings, but he still smacked them around nevertheless. One last clip to really drive the point home.
I want to jump in, and you were saying this is not how politics has always been, and I agree, but who started this new era of divisive politics? Was it Obama? Was it Biden? It was definitely Trump. Trump's claim to fame in the political arena was saying that Obama's birth certificate was fake. That was his claim to fame. His second claim to fame in the political arena was coming up with nicknames for his opponents. He was chanting,
that's what got him elected.
So let me ask you,
can
any of you concede that Trump was the one, either of you, that entered us into this new era of divisive politics?
I thought we were talking about Nancy Pelosi.
We were talking about them both, but yes, she did. She is.
Was it her that entered us into this new era?
Look, there have been Hillary Clinton making comments about deplorables.
5 years after.
Obama talking about people, guns and Bible. I mean, I don't think politics has ever been a gentlemanly sport. If you look at back during the Civil War, people were getting caned on the Senate floor and
Trump is dragging us down to the depths of hell by breaking unspoken norms over and over.
Again, it's right that Adam's pointing this out. The fact of the matter is that you appeal to, a situation which occurred in the Civil War, the bloodiest war that America's ever participated in. That's really not the point. The point is that there was supposed to be an era of civility politics which followed the Civil War so that we don't get into another Civil War. And you can talk about Hillary Clinton's basket of deplorables. Those were comments she said in a private fundraiser referring to, she said, if we want to get really reductive, here are half of all Trump supporters. And the right still bitches about it 10 years later. For every one comment you can find of Hillary Clinton saying something unhinged Donald Trump has said, 200 things that are unhinged. So it's not a both sides issue. Donald Trump is objectively more uncivil and divisive than any Democrat. And any Republican who tells you otherwise is an idiot and a liar, which is why they have no credibility on the civility dynamic. Like, if you guys want civility, then you should apologize for the terrible shit that you've said or tolerated Trump saying or celebrated Trump saying. You have no credibility here. So great performance by Adam per usual. You should definitely check him out. Check out MeidasTouch, Adam Mockler's channel. And in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.